Hey, how's it going? This is Easy Drawings, and today I want to talk to you about the importance of practicing. So there's a massive importance in practicing art, and I think that's actually the most common thing I've ever seen with beginners is the kind of lack of practice. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples, and I'm going to go over some ways that you can avoid this to save yourself years and years of not improving. I want you to improve very fast. So watch the whole video. It's going to be hopefully short. I don't want to rant too long about this. So let me kind of preface this with a story. I tutor many different people on drawing. Most of them are beginners. Obviously, they're coming to me. And so the number one problem I've seen with people drawing and wanting to get better at drawing is the complete lack of practice. I'll tell you an example. I would tutor someone once a week, and there were times where I wouldn't give homework. I would just say, hey, draw through the week and bring it in, and I can take a look at it, and I can give you some specific things you're doing wrong. Like, what are you doing wrong? Because when you have someone that's better than you point out to you some habits that you're doing over and over again, and they tell you that is the first step to kind of fixing those bad habits, right? Because you really need to know that you're doing it wrong in order for you to find out what it is so that you can fix it. And you kind of go through 4 stages, right? You go through this, and they have this throughout marketing as well and through any skill. So the idea is that you go through this stage with any skill, by the way, separately, So for example, you go through, I think it's called unconscious incompetence, right? So you're doing incompetent things without really being consciously aware of it. Then when you learn what it is, you have conscious incompetence, meaning you're conscious of what you're doing wrong, of your incompetence. And then so what you're going to do is you're going to learn and try to change that. And then what you do, then after that, you have conscious competence, meaning you're doing the right thing, but you have to think about it actively. And then finally, at the very end, when you master something, you have unconscious competence. So, for example, you're doing the right thing, but you don't know. You're not really thinking about it so hard. And that's kind of where you want to get with drawing. And that's, the only way to get there, though, is to practice. And when I would tutor someone once a week, there was many times they would only practice when I saw them in front of me. You're never going to get good. If you work out once a week, I mean, it's possible you'll get okay, but it'd be better to work out 3 or 4 times a week, right? If you are practicing, let's say, the violin or something, let's say something different like that. If you practice once a week for an hour, you're probably not going to get good very fast. You should practice about an hour every single day. And so it becomes a habit. And you just blast through that beginner stage where people often get stuck in that beginner stage for 4 years or something. You should blast through that beginner stage in 6 months of just everyday practice where you're oh, okay, you got the rhythm of it. You can, do a couple of things there. You can draw some decent, you know what I mean? Just blast through that beginner stage by obviously looking at what to practice. And you can look at that stuff throughout this site, and I also have it on my easythingstodraw.net website. It gives you the basics of drawing. You can do that, but the really important ingredient is you can learn all that stuff, but you have to practice it. You have to do it every day, an hour a day. Or how about this? Do it 5 days a week for about 2 hours every day. Right now, let me tell you my schedule. I draw literally 5 hours every single day. Right now, at least. Sometimes it's more. It's never less, though. And that's what I do. That's in the beginning. I blew past the beginner stage in 3 months because I was so desperate to get good at this. Because I started at such a late age. You can be any age, and just if that 6 months is not going to change. The only thing that's restricting you is kind of your maybe preconceived notions of how fast you can learn a skill. Because I've seen that with older people. I know anyone above 30, above 25, they seem to have this notion that you need to have been doing this since you're a kid. I mean, it helps, but it also kind of detracts from it as well, because you're like, when you learn to draw as a little kid, maybe you didn't have any instruction and you ingrained some really terrible habits you have to get rid of. Where if you start, like, let's say at whatever age you're at, let's say you're starting late, you don't have those habits. So you're starting with a much fresher area. So don't worry about how old you are, and don't worry that you have to learn this since you're like a baby. You don't. I learned it, I learned it at like 18. I think that's old to start, typically. But even if I started at 30, I would have been the same. 6 months, 3 to 6 months, you blast through that beginner stage where you don't have, the lines aren't as wiggly anymore. Things don't look like Play-Doh. Things are starting to kind of look like what they're, you know what I mean? You get through that baby stage, you get past that. Maybe you're like lower intermediate now, where you kind of like, okay, now you have a grasp of what you're doing. It doesn't look exactly like what you want, but it's getting there, where you're clearly improving. That's kind of it. I need you guys to practice more if you are serious about just having this as a skill, drawing whatever character you want to draw. You see something in media, you see Deadpool, you see friggin' Overwatch, you see any, what character from Overwatch, you see something that cool, family portrait, you see any of that stuff, and you're like, I want to draw that, and you want that skill. If you really want it, you just practice it, make it habitual, and put aside other stuff for a little bit, and really, really dig into this for a while. And you're going to be so rewarded. This is going to be a skill that, of course, it goes away if you don't practice it, but I mean, you're going to have such a strong base in it if you really push yourself in the beginning, that it's going to be pretty cool. You're going to have this really cool skill that you'll probably have for, the rest of your life. If you don't have to practice it as much later, but, it would obviously help if you do. If you want to be a professional, you have to draw pretty much all day, every day, like I do. So, anyways, thanks so much. I hope that helped you out. If it did, hit that subscribe button. Also, go check out easythingstodraw.net. I'll put a link in the description for it. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the very next video. So.